Welcome back to the Museum of Aquarium and Pet History. We're at Super Zoo 2024, and today I just looked at the pictures again. It's the most amazing pet shop I have ever seen in my life. It's really spectacular. I'll talk about it in a minute, but I have Rick and I have Kirbay. Preuss. I got that right, didn't I? Like Dr. Seuss. Preuss. It took a while. I had to ask him. I'm sorry. And I remember you from a betta video that you did years ago. I think I told you that. I'm sure it was you that did this betta video because it was your store on how to breed bettas, and I was really enamored, of how the detail that went in about the styro cup and all the other different things.
Oh yeah.
The glass jar in the water, and so that was pretty interesting. So
we should probably do more of those things.
You should.
Yeah.
YouTube is the way of the future, right?
Yeah.
You're young, you know that. Instagram, TikTok.
Saying, let's get on YouTube. We just have to do it.
You have to do it, especially your store.
Yeah.
You need to be the influencer for your store and walk around and show how cool it is, because I looked at the pictures and I said, I've never seen a store with a stream going through it. I've never seen a store that has a Triumph TR3 car sitting on top of the reptile section, that has a school bus cut in half, that you have small animal section in it, that the coral area is all actinic lighting, so it looks like you're walking into a different world. I mean, I was just amazed at all the things that you thought of, and I'm thinking to myself, well, why didn't they do a second store? Well, I know why. You put all your heart and soul into that store. So if you haven't been to this store, which is in Michigan?
Yeah, Lansing, Michigan.
Lansing, Michigan. Now, I do have to ask one thing. Are turtles illegal in Lansing, Michigan?
Well, anything over 4 inches is good.
Right.
Anything under 4 inches, it's a federal issue, is bad.
Right, but you can have turtles if they're over 4 inches.
There are places evidently that can't have turtles. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there is. In the Midwest, there is.
Yeah, I did not know that.
I did.
You can't have Michigan, like there's some, like you can't have the Easter box turtle, and there's a few others, but for the most part, you can have turtles.
That's good. I like to hear that. So the business was started by your mother?
Yes.
In 1982?
No. That was probably 1965.
Really?
Yeah.
Same name and everything?
So it was called the Fish Bowl.
Okay.
A lot of times when we hire, our new hirees, my daughter actually does me a favor of giving kind of a history lesson to the staff members when they come in, so they at least know that we do have a history, and which is what is fantastic, and why I am very emotionally attached to this idea of a museum for aquariums.
We really want to honor the history of the industry we love.
Yeah.
And the keeping of pets, period. Whether you're in the industry or not, just the keeping of pets is so important.
Well, and whether you know it or not, you're honoring my mother. You know what I mean? That's fantastic. And all those that were part of that whole culture, that started the very business that we're in.
So what you said, 65?
1965.
So that's
a little fish shop.
Almost 60 years.
Yeah.
And you're third generation.
Yeah.
And your little daughter's fourth generation?
Yeah.
You're going to make her a pet person, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she knows what the pet store is all about. She spent a lot of time in there.
That's great.
Yeah.
My gosh, a 60-year-old store, third generation, you got a lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
You really do. And you got big weight on your shoulders.
I know. I feel it.
Yeah.
But also I'm really grateful because you set a really good foundation, and we're very lucky to have the employees that we have. We have an amazing team. There's 72 of them in one store.
72 employees for one store. That's insane. You go to a big box store, sometimes you don't find 3 employees.
Yeah, like where are they?
Yeah, I'm like,
I'd like some help here.
Yeah, I like to get crickets or goldfish if nobody's there.
Yeah. Oh, you'd love it. We have actually a cricket bar.
Really?
There's a really beautiful picture of it. You'd probably find it on the internet. But we had a local guy that likes to deal with, he won't build anything where he can't build recycled materials. And after COVID, we were quite substantially aware how important our cricket trade was and bug trade, because that was the one thing when everything was down that had to keep happening, and the amount that we sold was we didn't ever focus just on that. And then we were focusing on that, and like, that's a lot. And so we had a local guy. We had a cricket bar before at the end of the bus, but it wasn't as embellished as this one is. And now when you walk in the store, you see this cricket bar. But we've always had some way of kind of signaling it out, like, hey, this is where you want to buy crickets, bugs, that kind of stuff. And it's a big business. It's right up near the front, so people don't have to walk all the way back to get it.
And that's on your website? You got a picture of it?
I would think so.
On our website, we need to get better with. I feel like we spend so much energy inside of our brick and mortar store making it what it is, in the magnitude of live animals that we work with.
Right.
We need to do a better job promoting ourselves. I think that's something I've realized at this show is that when I grab my phone out and I start scrolling through and I show photos, I'm like, where the heck have you been?
I called David this morning, David Marsh, and I said, okay, tell me about this store. And he goes, well, they were a store of the month, a few years ago. And I go, really? He goes, have you seen pictures? I go, no. Only on the website. He goes, oh, you need to see pictures of the store. And so he sent me the store of the month pictures that we had at ZoomEd. And I was going, oh my God, this store is gorgeous. Why don't we know more about this store? Because everybody should be going here and checking it out. Even the people that want to open a fish store, what an inspiration.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, they probably couldn't do it. You've taken 60 years to put your mom and everybody else in the family.
Yeah, my wife.
Your wife.
She's done a real critical part. 1982 is when we opened Preuss Pets.
Right.
And shortly after that, I met my wife, and she's been with me at my side ever since. And she is a strong presence managing our bird department, and she's also a strong presence as kind of a generalized manager, but mainly focusing on making sure the deposits get in and the accounting happens and those type of things. So
it's good having a wife that takes care of the money part.
Yeah. And so,
I have the same thing.
she's a very hardworking person and spent a lot of years with birds, being kind of that bird whisperer. And it takes a lot of energy. That's a very demanding, especially when you hand feed babies and then they need to leave. It's just a different atmosphere than the fish department. And she leads that very, very well.
So you actually were mentioned on the Stephen Colbert show. See, you're good at social media.
What's so funny is that I had this idea for social, and I threw it by a few employees, and they said, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, that won't get any traction. And my ideas typically are pretty outside the box and strange and get met with a couple, oh, that's interesting. And that's actually the post that picked up the Colbert's, their whole attention. So we were featured on their, it's called the Small Biz Bump, and it's where during the pandemic they featured small local businesses to try to drive traffic to them through either their website or just hopefully getting the local news involved. So I was just at home one night and I got a call from a friend, and they said, did you know that you're on the Colbert show? And we were like, what are you talking about? We had no idea. And it was him with a photo of our store and talking about what we're about. He had obviously, like, his team, right, had done some research, and we were just in shock. Like, I think that we were just kind of floating on that for a while. We got a plaque in the mail. It said, you're featured on the Colbert show. The next year, I get a call from his production team, and they said, we really liked your store. We looked into it more. We want to feature you guys again. Are you available for an interview? And so I made myself available, and I cleared my schedule. And this was just a virtual thing. Well, then they contacted me and they said, we actually found content we really like. We're going to do our whole opening monologue featuring the video you did. So I was in labor with my daughter, and I made a joke. I said, this is the Small Biz Bump, right? And I was in labor when he mentioned our store on the Small Biz Bump. So he did a whole thing where he talked about me and he talked about my daughter and made jokes about, my show isn't proven to cause pregnancy, I promise. And I was eating Ben and Jerry's when I did the video, and of course I wasn't eating his flavor, so he had to talk about that, and he just had a lot of fun. So, but it drove a bunch of traffic from like the local media, and people are always, you guys were on that show, so we're really grateful. It's pretty awesome.
That's wonderful. That's the best free press you could get.
Yeah.
So you grew up working in the store since you were little?
Yep. Since I had to stand on a step stool to reach the buttons on the computer.
How cool. I love that. So when you bought this store, this new location, it was an old warehouse.
A old car dealership.
And inside of it was two cars, this Triumph TR3, whatever, red, and this old school bus, I guess.
Well, they weren't there. We had to go get them.
Oh, okay.
So the school bus I was looking for, the school bus is a good story because it involves my wife and it involves, just creative thinking. And it was one of those scenarios where I wanted to have, I spent we got this building. It's an old built in 1927 car dealership, first Ford dealership in Lansing.
Uh-huh.
And so other than the fact that it needed to be completely repaired from the roof to all the mechanicals, electrical, and everything else, when I first walked in there, it had me at the rafters. It's old, these old, really large, dramatic rafters and such. So that was kind of cool, but we've never worked with a really big box. Like the whole thing,
right.
The whole store is like 20,000 square foot. So we had this really big box that we had to figure out how to make it fun. And so I spent all night long with a piece of paper drawing out the store, and I was done like at 6 in the morning. My wife wakes up at 8 in the morning. She looks at it and she kind of gives me a little bit of a dead stare and kind of like, what's wrong? And after a little while, the silence became verbalized, and she had mentioned, we all know that small animals in concentration can have odors.
Right.
And she was concerned the way I drew out the small animal department, that it was right in the middle of the store, which would possibly create a problem. And she was right?
Right.
And so I had to think fast. So my fast thinking was back when I was in college and I worked under a fume hood. My first thought is, okay, well then I need to put a fume hood there. And then I got to thinking we had kind of a Caribbean theme. And so I thought, we were just from the Dominican Republic, and what you saw around there, a lot of these vans that would go around in bright colors. So we ended up I got to find a school bus. So I went around, found a school bus, and we drove it into the building because the walls, the garage doors had not been closed in yet. We drove it in. She and her high school friends at the time, because she was in high school, spent their weekends painting this. It was like carte blanche, whatever you want to do, paint it, make fun with it. And my brother, he actually cut out the entire floor on one side, the whole floor and one side of it. And the bus was just perfect. It's a 57 Chrysler, rounded out, just really classic, old classic.
Yeah.
And so it became the fume hood, but more importantly, it became something that kids get excited about when they walk in the store.
Right.
Where do you see a school bus that's painted in such beautiful colors? And so...
But didn't you cut off the front of it or the side of it?
The whole side.
Yeah.
My brother cut off the side and the floor.
That's crazy.
So that, you didn't want people walking up in it, so he had to literally take the entire floor out.
Wow.
My brother did a lot of the building, like the waterfall we have outside, a huge dramatic waterfall in the front.
Really?
And a water garden area, anything and everything that had to get done. He was the general contractor. Did a fantastic job of kind of taking a fantasy in my mind into something that became a reality.
We need to hire them for the physical museum we're building in 2 years. Is he for hire? Is he still around?
He's kind of retired, but...
This will be fun.
There you go.
You can go to California and hang out for a year.
I'll bring it up.
Oh my gosh.
One of those things when people walk in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first word that's always there is, wow. People just come in, they look in the building, they see everything. It's nothing like any pet store you've ever seen.
I've always heard that you're like a really advanced hobbyist. I just didn't know that you had a store that's so overwhelming. So you really need to shout that to the world.
Yeah.
Because people should see this store. This is like walking into a Disneyland, but it's a store. It's a fish/pet shop, but it's like a Disneyland. And I can honestly, I would say, why don't you have 2 or 3 stores? You've been in business a long time. No way. Yeah. Just do one perfect store. And that's what you've done. You've done one perfect store.
Yeah. It's a regular, consistent battle. You know how it is.
Yeah.
The perfection comes in the constant, the constant perfection of what you do. And, we didn't have a lot of money to invest in that. We did everything possible to make it happen, from, relying on family, doing our own work, doing our own painting, doing whatever we could. The way we manage the engineering is one of my best employees, Steve Oberg, very smart guy. He learned literally overnight how to run a CAD program, and then drafted everything up for the engineer over the months that we did this, and was able to submit it to an engineer instead of going through an architect, because we didn't really have the financial wherewithal to afford an architect at the time.
That's the beauty of where you live, because in California, that would never fly.
Yeah, well, we're in Michigan.
You are lucky.
It's a great place.
You are definitely lucky. So you got to tell me some funny stories that have happened in your store, and I know that you have a bunch of them. So come on, spill the beans. I want to hear something funny.
Well, I went outside one day and a woman in a full mermaid costume was sitting in our waterfall.
And you didn't hire her; she just came over.
She just was in there. She was just in there. Another one, we have a 3,000-gallon river in the store, and for $1 you can feed this koi, and then we give that all back to charity. And somebody radioed one day, there's somebody with their fishing pole in the river. Someone had their pole, and they were in the river trying to catch our fish, and so we had to ask them to leave. I actually we work a lot with work-based learning programs with individuals with disabilities, and so I was working with a student, and they were gone for just an extended period of time, and I was like, where the heck did they go? So I typically say, hey, just go to the river, grab some water, go water the plants. It's extremely nutrient dense. Well, they actually went down to the Grand River. So they exited our building and they went lots and lots down, because it's not every day in the store you can say, hey, go to the river and grab some water. So I had to rephrase how I say that. So there's so many stories. I don't know. I could go on and on.
We've had a couple engagements and a wedding there.
Really, at the store?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You still love fish just as much?
Yeah, I really love fish.
Do you breed anything in the back room?
Yeah, we have a gentleman by the name of Antonio that's been breeding fish for us since 1998. And he came from Cuba. Back then, he immigrated, hardly spoke English, came in with this folder with all his important information, right? And he sits down in my office and I interview him, and he has a translator from Immigration Services. He opens up his folder, and as best as he could, he was showing me all the fish that he was raising in his backyard in Cuba.
Oh my God.
And he went through, and we were talking as much as we could. And then, oddly enough, the very last page was was his diploma from Havana University as a veterinarian.
Oh my gosh.
And so his passion was fish, his expertise was in veterinary science, and he's been with us ever since, breeding fish now for more than 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And he's amazing. When they take his fish to shows, he speaks every category. He's extremely humble, but he's quite amazing. He does so much. He does so much with diagnostics and helping with our med sheet every day, making sure that we're keeping health as a top priority in our aquatic section. So we're really, really lucky to have Antonio, and for him to want to stick around as long as he has. So
I'm going to have to talk to him, because I have a hole in the head in some of my big cichlids. I'm going to figure out how to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because I've tried different things, but if he's a vet, he's as good as you say, I'll pick his brain. So where do we go from here? You guys are no more stores. You like the one store, which is the best store. You built the mother of all fish pet shops.
Yeah.
And you've got a little one you're raising now. And so you're busy.
yeah.
And but you're out there probably running the store as much as your dad is. Yeah. And you're working with the pet industry too. Kudos to you.
Yeah.
We're both there full time, and this guy you have to literally drag out of the building. So the granddaughter helps a lot, though. Papa, you need to go to the playground. So that's helping.
She's been helping me take time off.
That's
right?
good. That's good.
Right? So,
Yeah.
and my wife has done a really fantastic job. She spends as much time as she can with Arabella there, and then she spends a lot of time in the store doing her magic in the bird department.
I love your name. It's so cool. I kept looking at it and go, her name isn't Kirby. Can't be Kirby. It's a boy's name, but it's Kirbay.
It's funny you say that. I have what I call my coffee shop name. My name gets mispronounced so often that just to not have to deal with it and talk about the whole story, I'm like, my name is Alex, and that's what I get called when I go to the coffee shop.
Alex?
So that's my coffee shop name. But it's a combination of my parents' middle names. That's how they got me.
It's really cute though. It's unusual and it's unique.
Yes, yes.
Well, I want to congratulate you. 2 years ago, they gave you a Lifetime Achievement Award at the World Pet Association.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
It's
much.
well
I appreciate
deserved.
it.
That
And
is-
you as well.
Well deserved. Yeah.
Yes, yes. We were
Maybe the same year even. So I thank you both for coming. I really do. And I'm going to get to your store. I am going to get out there, come hell or high water, because after seeing the pictures, I'm just like, I'm floored.
yeah.
Who's got a river through their store?
Yeah,
And
it's-
cars inside
We
their
have Hoover that's been around. Hoover's been around since 1988. We've had Hoover. I went to a pet store that was being auctioned off by the state for not paying their taxes, and I found a Pseudodorus niger cat. But I didn't know what a Pseudodorus niger cat was back then because it was in '88, and I didn't know everything.
Right.
You know, so it was that size. And then I quickly learned that it grows. Now he is a good 30 plus inches.
Oh, wow.
And will literally come up and eat right out of your hand. She oftentimes does classroom tours
Yeah.
and shows them how he'll just come up, and his name is Hoover because he does a lot of sucking, and will take that food and suck it right up out of her hand, and he's like a little Shamu.
Wow. I thought it was a plecostomus when you first said that.
Yeah, no, he's
Yeah.
but Oxydorus niger, ripsaw catfish.
Right.
It's got the kind of like thorns all the way down the side. Or
I've seen
whatever you call
those.
it. Yeah,
Black, isn't he?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I've seen
Yep.
those.
They're really
Those are
awesome.
great fish.
Yeah.
They have one here at the Shark Aquarium at Mandalay Bay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Never been there.
Yeah.
An aquarium at a casino. That's just weird to me.
It wasn't bad. It was a good aquarium.
Okay.
I had to teach the guy what an oxydon paradox was.
No, my last question is, can you have piranhas and stingrays in your store?
We can have piranha. Red bellies are what we see. I don't
Yeah.
know that any other piranhas are really readily available.
And you can have stingrays?
And we can have stingrays.
I hate it. I have them in the wrong state.
Ah, well. You at least have warm weather.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
You
It's
bet.
been wonderful.
Yep.
All right. That's a wrap.